Jay Monday 100 is asking, uh, did you know John Stinson? Did you have any history or do you know any stories about him?
Yeah, yeah. Johnny, he's also known as Youngster. He was brand out there in California, and they rose up to when they all got slammed in the shoe of Pelican Bay. Uh, New York, Blinky, all of them were saying, "Well, that's it. We're just done." And Stinson was saying, "No, we ain't done. Let me do this." And so they start, reconstituting in the shoe. Just because you're in the shoe doesn't mean shit stops, right? Beat goes on, and then they're doing what they're doing. But him, and I think it's Blinky, or maybe it was York, but I think it was Blinky, were responsible in the for getting uh, Deadeye Healy, Brian, to kill Rufo, brother, right?
Mm.
And then it turned out, according to Rufo, it was a bad. I mean, according to Deadeye, it was a bad wire. They said Rufo was no good, this and that, whatever. Got him hit, got him killed, and it turned out, according to Deadeye, that wasn't true. That's why he rolled over on them guys up there, according to him.
Hmm.
So I don't know where Stinson's at now. I know they were all on. All them guys were on trial down there in federal racketeering case. So he could be in the bed somewhere. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I'm not sure where, but that's what I know about John
Okay.
Stinson.
All right. Birds from Yaki Vegas is asking, it's kind of a multiple layered question. It's how did you make it to the commission? And then how did it go in with the feds for the first AB recruitment wave? Did they have to take control or was there any resistance from other factions?
Okay, well, how did I get to the commission? I was invited up there. People voted me in. Uh, I never really sought to be on the commission. I just got voted up there, put up in there, and I'm kind of a multi-level guy, and levels I function on and all that. I'm not one-dimensional, right? So I was pulled up there because I do a lot of encryption stuff. I was one that put together all the percentages on setting up the brand banks and all transactions. 20% of each transaction goes to the brand banks and stuff like that. So those are my functions there. And then I was always involved in weapons manufacturing, and, all that type stuff. That's why Kevin Rhodes, when he rolled over, he told him, if you want to know about the federal brand, look to the IRA. TD's just TD. Barry is Sinn Fein, like administrative stuff. He said, John, it's the provost who runs the provisional army, all that stuff. So, and then when it first started happening, when the brand went from California, fellas were in the streets and going into the feds or catching federal cases, gun cases, bank cases, stuff like that. When they got out of the feds, they got back to uh, wrote back to California. The fellows out there says, "Listen, man, we understand. Uh, the brand is a California thing, and at one time you had to be in a California prison. You had to be from California and in a California prison to become a member of the brand. And then they expanded that out that you could come from wherever in the country or even in the world, but you had to be in a California prison to be put in the brand. And then so they reached out and they says, "Listen, man, we got a whole country out here full of good dudes, man. And, we want to look at them and expand it out." So with the blessings of the state brand, they said, "All right, man, you guys always been righteous and good, man. We trust your judgment, man. Go for what you know, man. Set your thing up." It's still the same organization, but it's just two families, right? One's state, one's federal. The federal one's much bigger. You know what I mean?
Hmm. This is the same guy, Birds from Yaki Vegas. He's asking how was doing time with PD? What was he like? Was he laid back? Like what was his
So
person? Yeah.
TD's good brother. He's really down to earth. He's with it. But he's laid back, but he holds the line. He lives by very specific principles and ethics, morality, and he holds those lines, and that's what he enforces, and he pushes business. That's what he's supposed to do. You know, he's a good guy. He's really down to earth. He told me one time. He says, "Brother," he says, "listen," he says, "man, now," he says, "you come up with all these fucking intricate, elaborate fucking plots and schemes and plans and operations." He says, "Man," he actually, this is his exact words. He told me, he says, "Man," he said, "the extent of my sophistication and elaborate plans," he says, "is I dropped down from a tree with a club. I clubbed to death when I climbed back up to the tree." I swear to God, that's what he told me. I looked at him and started laughing. I said, "All right, well, that works too, right?"
Yeah.
So, you know, there's a place for that too. Believe that. You know what I mean? So TD's good people, man. You know?
Yeah.
I think he just got a really raw deal on that racketeer thing out there. Because I'm not convinced he sent that fucking wire to Big Al in Lewisburg through Slow. I don't believe it was him because he knew we decided years before the hit and miss invisible ink thing's no good no more unless you encrypt it. And Big Al never said when he got it, and the federal government never said when it was sent, when Al got it, because Al rolled over. And he never said he had to decrypt it. That means it was an open, hit and miss, invisible ink message that TD would have never said. Would have never said it. So, anyhow, I maybe got fucked up here.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Esto7381 is asking, what do you know about Edward Vaughn, one of the alleged AB founders?
Eddie Vaughn?
Mm-hmm.
Eddie Vaughn is, Eddie Vaughn was with the brand out there. Eddie Vaughn is a killer. Eddie Vaughn is also, well, he may be openly now, but he was an undercover homosexual. And Eddie Vaughn used to get into relationship dudes out there. And when it looked like it was going to leak out, he would kill them to keep from getting out because he's in an environment at that time where homosexuality will get you killed, and that's just how it is. That's back in days. Back in them days, there were still laws on the book that homosexuality is crimes against nature and all that stuff because it's deviant sexual activity. Because the fundamental nature for sexuality is procreation, and any type of sexuality other sex for procreation is deviant sex, even if it's with a woman. Even if you're hitting her in your vagina, if she can't ovulate, can't conceive, it's deviant sex because you're just doing it for the pleasure and all that, getting your thing off. But so anyhow, then when it started getting bad, Eddie Vaughn went and testified in front of the California legislature and law enforcement and all that about the brand, about gangs and all that stuff. California Department of Corrections, CDC, now known as CDCR and all that. So that's what Eddie Vaughn did. Then Eddie Vaughn came up to the feds, and him and a dude named Okie Bob were on the main line at Marion. A dude named, I think Steve Dougherty, his last name was Dougherty. Good guy out of New York, called them rats, and they got knives, stabbed the shit out of him, went to almost killed him. Went to the control unit fort, and they disappeared after that. But that's the story on Eddie Vaughn. Okay. He's probably out now if he's even still alive.
Okay.
Because he's older than me. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
From Helot5638, and this is verbatim. It goes, "What do you think of white gangs versus the independent car? White gang members didn't like white dudes going independent because they couldn't extort them," he says.
Okay, well, first of all, that's not necessarily true because you can extort them. You can extort anybody if you want to extort them. That's the name of the extortion gang. And if you got a gang behind ethics, the nature of the extortion game, GAME, and that was never my style. I never did that. I don't extort people. I do business. I don't extort people. I never believed in any of that stuff. But if they're independent, that even opens them up even more to extortion. Now, if you got whole crews that are claiming to be independents, that makes them independent gangs. Same thing. It's just claiming independence. My thing is this. Like I told you before, your first flag is your white skin. Any flag after, whether it's AB, NLR, skinheads, whatever it is, is a secondary thing. So you should not be preying on your own. You should not be victimizing your own. That's just how I see it. And that's why when you were telling me the AB out of Texas and the California brand and federal brand can't be on the yard scale, that shouldn't be that way. They should heal that. They should resolve that because at some point the healings have to start. The resolution of these fissures and problems and whatever the causal factors are supposed to be healed. And if it's ego things, motherfuckers got to become bigger men, get past that, and start healing this. That's the only way you're going to heal that. Not only uh, in the prisons, amongst gangs, that'll eventually resolve the gang issues, and gang things will go away, and then you'll be reconstituted as a race, and there won't be static wars going on with intra-racial, not inter, but intra within your own race. And then once you resolve that, then you can start resolving the problems interracially with other races, so you're not at war with them either. You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
The healing and growth process has to start somewhere. I had a conversation one time with some people that flew in from Europe, some film crews there from the German-speaking nations. They want to talk to me because they got the same stuff going on in the German prisons, right? A lot of warfare and this and that. The Germans are at war with the Russians and the North Africans and the Turks and turf battles and all that stuff. And I said, listen, at a certain point, people are going to sit down and start doing business, especially in prison environments, because you can extrapolate that out to the social system too out in the streets, but in prison environments, the prison administrators are only going to allow so many bodies to float by. And when you got, gang warfare going on inside prisons, if it's real warfare, you got a lot of killings. So it creates a lot of heat. And then it just perpetuates itself. It takes on a life of its own. This is why you got to have cooler heads and smarter heads at the top that aren't reactionary and just angry and inflamed and all that, and just whacking people, because then it starts taking on a life of its own. You whack mine, I'm going to whack 2 of yours. You're going to whack now 4 of mine. It just starts growing. It takes on a life of its own. So you got to try to have conversations, levels of understanding, and that's how you regulate environments, whether they're prison environments or anywhere else. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So that's what that is. So the whole independent thing, I understand what that is. They don't want to be part of a prison gang or even an organized crime thing. I get that too. They may not want to be part of any of that or under anybody's orders or whatever. But at a higher level, they're actually functioning at a higher level if they're trying to function as themselves, for their families, for their communities, and for their race, for their ecosystem. Healing all that. You know what I'm saying? Because gangs basically are like mini tribes rising into being from an ecosystem. It's fractured. It's like taking a beer with one image on it and shattering it on the floor. Now you got a bunch of pieces with different images on it. Those are different gangs, different little crews or whatever. And they can start going to war with each other, vying for power and resources and everything else. And what it does, it's almost like cancer cells that are feeding on the overall larger bioorganism, which is your race. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You got to heal that shit.
Yep. Steric9909 is wanting to know what is the difference between doing time in the ADX versus Pelican Bay.
Okay, well, the ADX is all slammer except for step down or the pre-release. Pelican Bay, the only 2 slammers there were C and D facilities, which were the shoes, and then A and B yards for the main line. Then they had like E yard too. That was like minimum security maintenance and all that. A yard was considered kind of 50-50. If you landed there, you're supposed to get off. But B yard was the active yard at Pelican Bay. The ADX is the whole main line. You got the shoe there, which is B unit. Used to be C. When we first opened it up in 95, it was C. Then they moved us down to B. That became the shoe. C became ad seg, just for disciplinary segregation and investigation stuff. Then the back of C is the shoe or the SAM cell, Special Administrative Measures. There's 4 cells back there. Now, back in the days, they had to go to the United States Attorney General to get authorization to put you in there. I've been in there twice, those SAM cells, in the back of the ADX and C block twice, and once in Leavenworth in the old R&D Tommy's old cell, that old Frankenstein cell down there. But that's what that is. So the rest of the ADX, the main line, is slammer time. You get out of your cell maybe an hour, 45 minutes a day, tops. A lot of it's single rec. You can only wreck with your own little tier, 12 guys on your tier, stuff like that. And then when you go to a step down unit, you get a little more out of time. Then when you go to pre-release, you're out all day long working in unicorn and all that stuff before you transfer out of it. So the difference is they provide TVs in the ADX. At night when I was there, black and white 12-inch TV with a lot of TV channels and radio channels. In Pelican Bay, you got to buy your own. The cells in the ADX got showers in them. Pelican Bay doesn't. The shoes in the SAG units in the ADX got windows in the cells. The shoe facilities, C&D facilities in Pelican Bay don't have no windows in the cells. And you get more rec time. You get bigger rec cages in the shoes at the ADX. Inside rec and outside is a small little. They got like 6 of them that go around the control when you go out. They're single cell things. But in the Pelican Bay, you have yards, but they're all chopped up with fences where you actually go out. And you got some yard green grass in the ADX. It's all concrete. Unless maybe you get to pre-transfer. I never got there. They never let me in the step-down program.
All right. Well, that's the part one of our Q&A. I still got more questions, man. And if anyone else wants to ask any questions about anything, leave them in the comments of this video.
Whatever it is, just ask, man. You know?